Batman is one of the most influential fictional characters ever created. He's instantly recognizable. Show this photo to a blind guy and even he would say, hey, it's Batman. Or I don't know, maybe he would think it's Daredevil. The point is, everyone knows who Batman is, so I'm not gonna waste much of your time giving him an introduction. Instead, I'll introduce my video. Hi, I'm Brandog, and welcome to the stupidest thing I've done since I reviewed the entire Spider-Man franchise a few years ago. I say a few years, but it really feels like a couple decades. That video actively took years off my life, and it's already outdated. So I'm gonna probably be on my deathbed by the end of this video, considering some of these movies are unarguably way worse than the worst Spider-Man movies. Hell, the worst film in the Batman franchise might actually be worse than Morbius, and that's fucking terrifying. We have a lot of shit to talk about before it gets really bad, though. You've probably already read the title, so you know that starting right now, I'm reviewing every single Batman movie that has ever released in theaters. And as you might know, there's quite a few of them. I'm obviously excluding the straight-to-video animated ones that would take a whole video of its own, so in this video I'll be discussing everything, from Tim Burton to whatever this was, and ending with the newest movie that came out last year. So that's a lot of movies. That's like 12 right there. So why the fuck am I still doing this intro? Without any further ado, let's talk about every Batman movie. Kill me, dude, it's too late to stop. In 1966, the first ever Batman movie was released, and it was called Batman. It's just Batman. Batman stars Adam West and was a continuation of the show of the same name. As you might have guessed, this is very much a product of its time, so I'm not going to sit here and complain about how this isn't accurate or it's corny and dumb, because everyone knows that already. Everybody making this movie already knew that. Back then, Batman wasn't nearly as well established to the general audience as he is today. Everyone just saw him as this cartoonish character. No one was taking this seriously, so they just made shit up. Like the shark repellent, which was pretty funny at the times, but is hilarious to modern day fans. A lot of this movie is fucking hilarious. Like the scene of Batman trying to dispose of the bomb, but every time he turns a corner there's a crowd of people in his way or something like that. It's just amazing, dude. This movie also doesn't really have much of a plot. The villains team up to do something, I don't know, and Batman and Robin have to stop them, nothing more, nothing less. But it balances out the boring plot with scenes of utter hilarity. This movie is charming, and that's about all there is to it. I don't have anything deep to say or any major gripes to rant about. It's just a fine movie. A fine, forgettable, corny, stupid movie. I wouldn't recommend you watch this unless you're like a mega Batman fan or you're fucking drunk or something. In fact, there's several drinking games of this movie if you want to play those. And if you're a fellow stoner, then take a dab or something, I don't know. Anyway, this movie exists and that's about it. I'm gonna give it 5 out of 10 bat-shaped Scooby Snacks. Let's talk about a real Batman movie now. Batman 1989. Man, am I excited to talk about this film again. I say again because I've already made a video essay on this film a long motherfucking time ago. And that video's fine, I guess, but it mostly serves as a story analysis rather than anything else. But this is an actual review, baby. I can say whatever I want without any restraints. Which means I get to talk about all the stupid shit in this movie because there's a lot of it. I really like this movie, but man, is it dated. But before I get into that shit, I will say to this day, it's still a really good superhero movie. It's also a pretty damn good Batman story too. Now, I've heard a lot of people say this is a bad Batman story, and while I don't completely agree with all the criticism this film gets, I can say some of it is, really valid. For example, Batman doesn't kill people and never should. I'm so sick of watching Batman kill dudes, and I'm even more sick of people claiming he's supposed to. It's against Batman's moral code to kill, and it's just plain stupid for him to. How is Batman better than any of the criminals he fights if he's actively murdering them in the process? I'll answer that for you. He wouldn't be. Batman is a superhero before he is a crime fighter. I know a lot of people like to pretend he's like the Punisher or something, but he's not. He becomes Batman to protect. He doesn't want any kids to grow up with the trauma he carries. And guess what, motherfuckers? The criminals he's fighting probably have children too. So how is Bruce any better than the man who killed his parents if he's going around killing people's parents? It just don't make any fucking sense, okay? So like a lot of people, Batman killing is my biggest problem with the movie. But on the bright side, it's fucking hilarious every time it happens. Comedy gold, my friends. Comedy gold. I think the killing thing mostly comes from the fact that Tim Burton didn't actually get Batman very much. Everything that's great about these first two movies can mostly be attributed to screenwriter Sam Hamm. Tim likes to focus on the visuals and never really dove deeper into the Batman lore. Focusing on the visuals obviously isn't a bad thing. Films are a visual medium after all, and these movies are fucking gorgeous. The Batman suit still looks great in my opinion. You've heard all the criticisms before, blah blah blah, looks like rubber, he can't move his neck, you get it dude. But guys, this shit looked good for '89, and the Batmobile is also fucking sick. It's easily one of my favorites put to film, but not this one though. Get this lava lamp dildo looking shit out of here. It's hard to explain this movie's plot as it's not really a straightforward story, shit just kinda happens. Batman is Batman because of a tragedy in his past, and Batman accidentally creates the Joker. The Joker does bad shit for no apparent reason, other than attention anyway, and Batman has to stop him. Again. He also finds out that the dude is responsible for the murder of both of his parents, so he gets to save the day and murder this asshole. It's a 2-for-1. We should actually talk about Keaton's Batman real quick, because I actually love him. Ever since that Flash trailer came out, people have been hating on my boy, and that's just not cool. I've legitimately seen people call him the worst Batman, which, dude, Clooney is right here in the same franchise. I think a lot of you guys need to separate your George Clooney bias before making fun of Keaton. Listen to Michael Keaton say, "I'm Batman."
I'm Batman.
And then listen to George say it.
Hi, Freeze. I'm Batman.
If you can't notice a difference, then I'm sorry. I can't help you. Nobody in the 80s expected Michael Keaton to actually be a good Batman.
I think Keaton is going to be good. I mean, I thought when I first heard it, to be frank, I thought it was a weird idea. It seemed totally out of left field to me. And the more I started thinking about it, the more sense it made. I mean, I think he'll be a great pairing with Nicholson, for one thing. I mean, you can't cast Jack Nicholson as the Joker and then just bring in some square-jawed stiff to play off him. Everybody will root for the Joker.
Hell, some had doubts he'd even be able to pull off Bruce Wayne, but the dude managed to prove both of those fears wrong. Keaton puts his all into this role. He's mastered the quiet and disconnected nature of Bruce Wayne and the dark stoicism of Batman. He's funny at times and fucking insane at others. I can't wait to see him bring this chaotic energy to the Flash. He's honestly the only reason I want to see that movie. The side characters in his life are fine, for the most part. Vicky Vale's a decent love interest who's actually pretty interesting and has a lot of shit going on of her own, but this dude is just really fucking annoying. Thankfully he doesn't return in any of the sequels, but god damn. I'll never forgive them for putting him in this one. But the weirdest character for me is Jim Gordon. He literally does nothing in these movies. He's a bumbling idiot who just waits for Batman to deal with everything for him. On one hand, this pisses me off because Gordon is one of my favorite characters in the Batman mythos, but on the other hand, I'm okay with it because he's fucking hilarious.
God, please, come back.
But arguably more important than him, we have Jack Nicholson as the Joker. And he's a goddamn blast, guys. He tears out the scenery, laughing and dancing like a madman, even though Jack was around 50 years old at the time. He has countless iconic lines and he's a contender for the best Joker. I mean, I don't think he's the best personally. There's some tough competition. I'm of course referring to Jared Leto.
By erasing my mind, what unfaded memories I had.
Jack Nicholson is really funny in this role though. His scenes are some of the most memorable in the movie, and it's good that Jack is so much fun because it kinda distracts from the fact that he doesn't have much going for him. Like I said earlier, his motivation isn't really clear. He just kinda does bad stuff because. Maybe he's just trying to stick it to the people of Gotham, you know? Make them suffer like he has. It's kinda interesting if you think about it that way. Hot take incoming, but I don't actually think the Joker killing Batman's parents is that bad of a thing. I know a lot of people think this is dumb and lazy, and I can understand where you're coming from. I just kinda like how it gives the characters more of a personal connection to each other, because without this, the characters would have no real reason to interact. Joker would just be bitter that Batman dropped him into a vat of chemicals at one time, and Batman would just have to stop the Joker because he's Batman and that's what Batman does. But this gives him some very understandable motivation. We can empathize with him and understand why he wants to kill the Joker. I still don't think Batman should kill people, but I can understand why he would want to. This could have led to an interesting conclusion where Batman decides not to kill the Joker, as that would make him no better than him, but no, he just murders him and that's the end of the movie. I've been ranting about this movie for a while, but I promise you, I actually really like it. I actually kind of love it. This is a pretty damn fun Batman story with a great cast, amazing visuals, and a jaw-dropping score. From an aesthetic standpoint alone, this is a perfect Batman movie. In actuality, it's definitely not perfect, but it's still really fucking good. 7 out of 10. I love this movie. God damn, I love this movie. Listen guys, I don't know how everyone else feels about this movie. In fact, I hardly ever hear people bring it up, but I absolutely adore this movie. It's one of my favorites in the entire Batman franchise. Everything is on point in this movie, from the acting to the visuals to the music to the plot. Everything about this movie just works for me completely. I have a fair amount of problems with its predecessor, but most of those are completely absent here.
Cold. It's fishy swell, sir. It's supposed to be cold.
This movie wasn't afraid to actually dive into the character of Bruce Wayne. I hear a lot of people say he doesn't really have a character arc in these movies, and I can slightly understand that, but more in the context of the first film. Because he definitely has one in this second movie. The film dives deep into the loneliness of the character, and over the course of the film he has to learn how to better himself and let people in. He sees what his self-inflicted isolation could do to him, and he sees what happens if he gives into his pain, in the form of Catwoman. I have two videos covering this topic already, so if you're interested at all, just go watch those instead. But I'm gonna try to keep things mostly brief here. Michael once again kills it as Batman. He's so much fun to watch, and you can really tell he was more confident in his performance this time around. We see a way more human side to him than we did before, and his chemistry with Michelle Pfeiffer is actually amazing. This kinda goes without saying, but Michelle is perfect as Catwoman and does an amazing job in this movie. I'm still kinda mad that she never got her solo spin-off film. Instead we got Halle Berry's Catwoman, which is a movie that exists. I said in the past that this was actually my favorite Catwoman, but I said that before the new movie came out, so I'm sorry, but I'm gonna have to retract that statement. Sometimes I forget that Christopher Walken is even in this movie, and that's okay.
I commissioned this report. I thought you might want to take a look at it.
Danny DeVito is magnificent as the Penguin. He's gross, scary, and downright evil, but you can still empathize with him. The movie opens with an amazing dark sequence where his rich-ass parents just abandon him in the sewers.
I'd be crying if I looked like that too, bro. That's fucked up what they be doing to y'all.
Also, can we please bring back fucking movie intros like this? Like, dude, Danny DeVito's Penguin is one of my personal favorite live-action Batman villains. He's filled with so much personality and crude-ass remarks. He almost bites a dude's nose clean off. Shit is sick. I only have a few problems with the character, those being the fact that he has this weird plan to murder all the children of Gotham. Kinda takes away from the whole sympathetic side of the character. I also wish that he had more of a personal connection to Bruce. My favorite Penguin story is the one where he's bitter that Bruce Wayne got the life that he never did, and he's trying to prove some kind of point to him. Because if you really think about it, these dudes are basically the same. It's just that Bruce had the privilege of enjoying all the luxuries that Cobblepot never did. The dude also has an amazing death scene. He's slowly pushed into a watery grave by his penguins as this amazing music plays in the background. God, I fucking love this movie so much. The first movie was visually incredible, and this one just takes it to a whole nother level. It cakes Gotham in snow, which creates a beautiful contrast in the setting. Batman and the snow go together like PB&J. Inject that shit into my veins pronto. The action is a lot more intense in this movie, and Batman even kills less people, which is nice. But for some reason when this movie came out, it was lampooned by critics and parents for being too dark, which I don't know, dude. The first one was dark too, and y'all didn't say shit. So like the spineless cowards they are, Warner Bros decided to cut Tim Burton's vision off early and do a soft reboot for the third movie. It really sucks that we never got to see Tim's vision for a third movie, but there's like a comic book version of it now, so if you're interested you could possibly read that. I haven't personally, so I can't speak for it in quality. I'm kind of running out of things I want to say about this movie, so if you want my full opinions, I already have a 20-minute long video packed with that juicy video essay content that you guys all desire. I'll just wrap this up real quick. Batman Returns is a fucking awesome movie that is interesting from beginning to end and has some of my favorite moments of the entire Batman franchise. I would give this a 10, but it's kind of dated and the pacing is pretty bad, so I'll just give it a 9.5 out of 10. Did you guys miss the half scores? Because I sure fucking didn't. You thought I was gonna talk about Batman Forever next, huh? Haha, I gotcha. You look so fucking stupid right now. Mask of the Phantasm is really fucking good, and it's a shame that a lot of people overlook this movie or just don't even know about it. It's obviously connected to the Batman animated series, so you're in for something really special. And not only is this a good Batman movie, it's also a really good movie in general. It's the best Bruce Wayne story we had gotten in a movie at that point, and honestly it's still one of the best. As you guys probably know, the legendary Kevin Conroy passed away last year, which had a pretty heavy impact on a lot of people, including myself. I grew up with his Batman. He's the definitive Batman for me. And not only that, Kevin Conroy was just an amazing and inspiring human being in general. He inspired us and taught us many lessons in our childhood, so it was really nice getting to revisit this movie. and hear his amazing performance yet again. Rest in peace, Kevin. You'll be greatly missed. Everyone is giving their all in this movie. Not only do we have the definitive Batman, but we also have the definitive Joker, in the form of Mark Hamill himself. This is the voice I hear whenever I read the comics. You also have Dana Delaney as Andrea, who is easily my favorite love interest for the character, outside of Catwoman of course. This is such a well written and tragic character. She's extremely loving and supportive, but hides this darker side that isn't revealed until the end of the movie. She does some bad motherfucking shit as the Phantasm, but it's completely understandable, making her the most sympathetic Batman villain in film. The animation for this movie is of course stellar. The art style will forever be iconic, and it also has some amazing fight scenes and some interesting set pieces. The ending is one of the most emotionally conflicting finales in the franchise. It's also visual eye candy. The movie manages to tell a perfect Batman story that delves deep into the character of Bruce Wayne and the people in his life, and it does this all in under 80 minutes. Mask of the Phantasm is one of the best Batman movies to date. It's an emotional roller coaster and a damn good time. 8.5 out of 10. Now for the bad ones. Batman Forever is honestly way worse than I remember, dude. I hadn't seen it in a while, and having to watch it again for this video was a fucking slog. For disclosure, I'm not here to rag on Joel Schumacher. Rest in peace. I think he's got some pretty great films. These ones are just the weakest of his catalog. It's pretty clear to me that he also had a pretty good understanding of Batman. This is the first movie in the series where Batman doesn't fucking kill people. Well, for the most part. He even acknowledges the fact that he shouldn't have been killing to begin with. It's really cool. The seeds were clearly planted for a really great Batman movie that would have focused heavily on Bruce Wayne as a person, but most of it was cut out, and what we're left with is shit like this.
Feeding off your brain.
The deleted scenes are actually really interesting, and I would love to see what Joel was originally planning. But unfortunately, this movie suffers quite a lot from studio interference, like obviously every bad superhero movie does. This movie was edited down to be a bizarre fever dream, a product of a movie that only serves to sell toys. If it wasn't clear already, I don't like this movie very much, but it's totally cool if you personally do. You might just want to skip ahead past this part. There's still a lot of content in this video that you might possibly enjoy. Anyway, let's just get started already. I really don't care for how this movie looks. That's not to say I don't enjoy these cool hand-built sets, because I do, and I commend them for their efforts, but it just kind of hurts my eyes to look at a lot of this movie. Everything is bathed in way too much neon, and there's so many goddamn Dutch tilts. Please cool it with the Dutch tilts, I'm gonna be sick. I just prefer the darker feel of the first two movies. That city was like a gothic nightmare. Some shit ripped straight out of Bloodborne. It felt timeless, but here it just looks like a bunch of colorful 90s bullshit. The side characters are hilarious in this movie. Everything Jim Gordon says is fucking gold. This hostage that Batman saves at the beginning of the movie is so annoying, but also everything he said had me dying, dude. You say that like it's a regular occurrence living in Gotham, and that's just so fucking funny. Also, listen to how excited this lady was at the party.
Oh, there's Bruce Wayne! Brucey!
Why did she say his name like that? Chase is easily the worst love interest in the series. Her involvement adds basically nothing. She's extremely boring. All she does is try to seduce Batman, and it's really annoying and kind of sexist. What happened to love interests actually being characters? This whole interaction bothers me.
Innocent people up there.
It won't do any good. He'll slaughter them without thinking twice.
Agreed. A trauma powerful enough to create an alternate personality leaves the victim.
In a world where normal rules of right and wrong no longer apply.
Exactly.
Shut the fuck up, please, dude. This dialogue is so awkward. And besides Chase, we have Tommy Lee Jones as Two-Face. For some reason, like seriously, it used to be Billy D. Williams. What the hell happened, Warner Bros? Whatever, for some reason it's Tommy Lee Jones now. And I don't like this performance at all.
Luck! Blind, stupid, simple, doodah, clueless luck!
He's purposely hamming everything the fuck up, and it's very obnoxious. For some reason, Tommy thought he could out-crazy Jim Carrey in this movie, but that's literally impossible, and he shouldn't have been trying. I'm not trying to hate on Tommy Lee Jones or anything. I actually like him in most movies I've seen him in. But here, I just can't fucking do it. This shit is awful, guys, I'm sorry. Two-Face isn't some Looney Tunes ass villain, he's actually a really intimidating dude. Also, this design for the character is fucking horrible. I know it's so they could appeal to kids, but come on, dude. You can't tell me it doesn't just look like he smeared frosting all over his face and called it good. The other villain is Jim Carrey's Riddler, as you all know.
Shut up. You're here to work. How's my mole?
Fine.
Mr. Wayne.
And honestly, I was kinda excited to see him again because I remember liking his performance as a kid. But I'm sorry, y'all. It was really fucking annoying sometimes.
Caffeine will kill ya!
He's going absolutely insane. He's improvising everything. He's only similar to the Riddler in name and the fact that he occasionally says a riddle. Other than that, he's just a crazy dude with dyed hair and a skin-tight costume. He's like the trickster from The Flash more than anything. One thing I really like about this character is how personal his connection with Bruce Wayne feels. He has this weird parasocial relationship with Bruce, and when his insane project about brainwaves inevitably gets shut down, he loses his shit, and he has this personal vendetta against Bruce for the rest of the movie. He impersonates him to try to overshadow him and make him feel as rejected as he does. I think it's pretty cool. Like I said earlier, I like when the villains actually have a reason to hate Bruce personally, or when they're extremely close to him before they snap. I think that adds a whole other layer to their villainy. I kinda wish we could have seen Bruce's relationship with Harvey play out in the first two movies, but there was already a shit ton of characters, so I can understand why they didn't. So the Riddler and Two-Face decided to team up like halfway through the movie, and I fucking hate everything about this scene. The set looks pretty cool, but it's so poorly lit, and I think it's pretty dumb that Harvey would have a secret lair like this, but I don't know, that's just me. I like my Batman stories to be somewhat grounded, but also somewhat comic booky, like the animated series from the 90s, but I understand not a lot of people love the more campy side of the Batman mythos, which I totally understand. The movie from here on out is fucking insane. It's just a series of scenes that are poorly stringed together. Toothpaste and the Gibbler do petty crimes in a scene that makes me feel like I'm tripping on acid.
Let me try! I love the test! Reach way back!
Why didn't that guy react to getting punched? Why aren't they moving? Are they the royal guards or something? Chase and Bruce continue to flirt aggressively and Batman smiles like this. Hell yeah. Dick sees his parents die and does laundry like this. This movie was the blueprint for Daredevil, I'm telling you. Oh fuck dude, I haven't even mentioned Dick Grayson yet. So yeah, Robin's in this movie and surprise surprise, I don't like him. He's played by Chris O'Donnell and I just can't stand his performance in this movie. Now I'm not here to rag on Chris or anything, I'm not familiar with his other work, and I'm also not an actor myself, so I'm not gonna criticize him too hard. Hell, this dialogue would have been hard for anybody to fucking say.
I'm Batman. So I forgot my suit, alright?
Two dads attacks a circus and Dick throws a bomb into the ocean as his entire family dies. Oh my god. And then he moves in with Bruce Wayne for some reason and he's a fucking asshole the entire time.
Nice bike. Hang out at a lot of biker bars, Bruce?
I get you're grieving and all dude, but Bruce Wayne's letting you live in his house for free. Cool it with the attitude. But nah, all he does is talk about family and get mad and stuff. And he also steals the Batmobile whilst Bruce is on a date with Chase, like that's just fucked up, man.
Wait a minute. That's not Batman.
Yeah, guys, you're right. This guy definitely not Batman. Oh, fuck. You guys are right. I think he might be Batman for real. So Dick saves the girl and gets a kiss, only to almost die at the hands of a massive neon skeleton gang. Only for Batman to show up and save his ass. He's still a dick right after this, of course. Granted, he's mad that Bruce was Batman the whole time and didn't reveal his identity to Two-Face, which would have saved his family, but fuck, dude. It's not like he didn't try. He was screaming it. Or I guess screaming in the best way Val Kilmer can. So I guess we should talk about the elephant in the room, or at least the elephant in my head. I also don't like Val Kilmer in this movie too much. I'm not gonna be too mean, however, as he's probably my favorite performance aside from Alfred. Sure, Michael Caine might be my personal favorite, but this guy's a legend. Anyway, I don't care for Val's performance, for a pretty simple reason. His Bruce Wayne and his Batman are the exact same character. Maybe that's the point, maybe it's like the new Batman movie where he can't separate his personalities anymore, I'm not sure. Point is, he's quiet as fuck and he always sounds extremely bored throughout the movie. I just can't do it, I'm sorry y'all, I truly am. But I just don't like this movie. Okay, I've established that I don't care for Batman and Robin very much, so you would probably assume that I don't like them together, but that's not the case. I actually think it's a lot of fun and these two are at their best when put together. When alone, Bruce is too quiet and stoic and Dick is too arrogant and annoying. But when you put them together, it balances out their best traits and it becomes a pretty enjoyable time. If this was intentional, then this is the most genius film I've ever seen in my life. Also, I really like the scene where Batman's like drowning in sand, so Robin saves him and is like, hey man, I got you. Okay, this bit's been going on for way too long, so let's wrap this shit up now.
Drink up, let's boo-boo.
The ending of the movie is pretty weird, as to be expected at this point. Batman and Robin travel over to this metal floating island where the Riddler has set up a giant machine that allows him to suck the knowledge out of everyone's heads. What? And Robin gets kidnapped and the Riddler's like, save one to save the other, Batman. And can I just say, Sam Raimi's Spider-Man shamelessly stole this shit. So Batman's like, fuck you, and just saves both of them anyway. Then he murders the fuck out of Two-Face, even though he gave a whole speech earlier about how murder is bad and Dick can't kill Two-Face because that's bad. So why do you get to kill him? The minute Bruce, your bloodlust never left, you're like an addict. So he fucks up the Fiddler's machine and his head goes all wonky like some shit out of fucking Shark Boy and Lava Girl. And then he goes to jail and Batman and Robin run into the camera really awkwardly in a funny shot. Why is this in the movie? Anyway, that's Batman Forever, and again, I'm sorry to all the Batman Forever fans out there for shitting on this movie. There seems to be quite a few of you now since that High Top Films video came out. I get it, I saw the video, it's good, but this movie just definitely isn't. 4 out of 10, let's watch the really bad one now. Okay, you guys have heard it before 1,000 times over, but god damn, this really is the worst Batman movie ever made.
$5 million.
That's a utility belt, not a money belt. $6 million.
$7 million. Never leave the cave without it.
And it's also one of the worst superhero movies in general. Y'all can stop wondering if Daredevil or Catwoman or fucking Morbius is the worst. Well then again, Superman 4 exists. And also Elektra. Oh my god, have you guys seen Elektra? This shit's insane. She kills people and they turn into fucking farts. But we aren't here to talk about this cinematic masterpiece. We're here to talk about why Batman and Robin is the worst fucking Batman movie, and I don't care. There's quite a few reasons, so this might take a while. The very beginning of the movie fucks it up. No longer do these movies begin on a dark note that sets the movie's themes in an interesting way. No, instead we just get stupid long action scenes. Both Schumacher movies commit this sin. I just didn't mention it earlier because despite how long and weird the opening to Batman Forever is, it was actually one of my favorite parts of the movie because I was actually entertained. But this one just takes it way too far. It pushes the goalposts back on how campy these movies can be. This isn't even comic book camp or cartoon camp. No, this is straight up Adam West Batman, but with bad. The movie opens on a really long suit-up scene. I actually love scenes like this, and I wish they were in current superhero movies, but I really don't care for this one. It goes on for way too long, it's poorly lit, it has these weird and unsettling sound effects in the background, and way too many close-up on the bat ass and the bat tits.
I want a car. Chicks dig the car.
Shut the fuck up. Do you guys get why I hate him yet? So it turns out Mr. Freeze is currently robbing a museum and Batman and Robin gotta stop him. He's played by Arnold Schwarzenegger and I like Arnold as much as the next guy, but he is a textbook definition of a bad casting choice. In fact, just about everything about this adaptation of the character sucks. Mr. Freeze is my favorite Batman villain. He's one of the most depressing and sympathetic characters in his rogues gallery. This one's just a fucking goofball. He's constantly cracking terrible ice puns.
I'm afraid that my condition has left me cold to your pleas of mercy.
He does dumb shit like walk around in a robe and his ice layer and make his henchmen sing the fucking Snow Miser song. This goes above and beyond stupid. We're back in the 60s again. I thought the last movie was way too campy, but my god. Batman and Robin show up to fight Freeze's goons before he tries to escape in a fucking rocket ship. And they chase him into the air only for him to be like, yeah, see ya, and fly away using a fucking wingsuit. So they're like, we gotta escape by using the doors as fucking surfboards and flying down back to the ground. What is this movie? Batman arrives at the museum with such fashion.
Hi, Freeze. I'm Batman.
Oh my god. If it wasn't clear already, I really don't like this movie's cast. I've already ranted about Robin, so I won't talk about him much. All I'll say is his stupidity is amplified, and he's somehow even worse in this movie. And joining him is the Caped Crusader, George Clooney himself. George Clooney just plays himself for the entire movie. He plays himself as Batman, and he plays himself as Bruce Wayne. His tone never changes, he always has the same bored tone no matter what's happening. It baffles me that people can unironically call Michael Keaton the worst Batman, when his performance exists in the same franchise? He didn't even try! Besides Bat Dude and Bird Guy, we also get introduced to Batgirl in this movie, and she's the fucking worst. They didn't even establish Barbara Gordon as a character in this franchise, so instead of introducing her in this movie, they instead made Batgirl Alfred's niece? And no offense to this actress, but she's not doing a very great job in this movie.
And took the liberty to create something in your size.
Suit me up, Uncle Alfred.
Why are you talking to a computer? Not to get off track here, but Alfred is sick in this movie. We find out in the beginning from this really long shot where he looks sad, and I really don't like this plot. It's kind of lazy and it just exists to make the audience think this movie has stakes when it very much doesn't. Also just don't like when this Alfred gets hurt. My least favorite part of the last movie was this. Don't do that, don't hurt Alfred. The action isn't even exciting, it's so awkward and clunky. Batman and Robin do insane shit like kick their boots together to activate ice skate mode. The whole rocket scene, everything. It's hard to get engaged with any of the action because it's so boring and forgettable. Why is he just laying there like that? Is he dead? But getting back to the cast, we also have Uma Thurman as Poison Ivy, and she's very forgettable in this movie. She just flirts with everyone and talks about how she wants to take over Gotham with plants or whatever. I've never been a big fan of the character of Poison Ivy, no particular reason, I just haven't read any stories of hers that I really care for. Maybe if I watched a Harley and Ivy show I'd understand. She's one of my favorite boss fights in Arkham Asylum though, so that's something. But here, I just can't enjoy her. I'm sorry, Uma Thurman, you're an amazing actress in just about everything else. And the third villain in this movie is Bane, because we definitely needed another villain in this already full cast. Bane suffers hard from being the extra villain. He has no character at all. He just grunts a lot. This is a terrible adaptation of the character. Bane is one of Batman's most iconic villains, and here he's reduced to some dumb henchman. They beat his ass the first time and just have to murder his ass the second time. All the villains are defeated in weird ways. Bruce just punches Mr. Freeze onto this hot thing and he's like, ah! And Ivy gets eaten alive by this plant but somehow survives? What the fuck? Also, I love how Robin beats her by putting plastic over his lips. That's so funny, holy shit. So yeah, I really don't have much else to say. This movie is just awful. If you're one of the few people who actually like this movie, then congratulations. You did what a lot of us couldn't and I'm kind of jealous of you. But yeah, this movie's just terrible. I don't even have a clever conclusion. I just hate this movie. 1 out of 10. Get it out of my sight. Okay guys, that was pretty bad, huh? Good thing we get to talk about the oh so sacred Dark Knight trilogy next. I'm so excited to talk about the Dark Knight. No, that's not funny, no! So yeah guys, apparently instead of making a new Batman movie to correct the mistakes of the last one.
I hate to disappoint you, but rubber lips are immune to your charms.
First, the studio decided to make a solo Catwoman movie. For some fucking reason. Now, I wouldn't have a problem with a solo Catwoman movie. If done right, it could be really fucking cool.
I am Catwoman. Hear me roar.
But this movie just doesn't work. I almost didn't cover this movie at all. My homie Manic made a very valid point about how I don't really have to cover this movie or Joker, because whilst they're Batman characters, these movies are stories of their own, and they kinda stand aside from the rest, which is a very good point. But then a bunch of other people voted that I should cover them in a poll, and then I realized I wasn't gonna get a chance to cover them again anyway, so fuck it, might as well just do this now. I'm honestly struggling to decide if this or Batman and Robin was worse, because at least I kinda knew what was happening in Batman and Robin. This movie doesn't follow any comics or adapt basically anything about this character.
A gift that could change your life and give you a new one.
This is a completely new person named Patience, which you need a lot of in order to finish this movie because it's boring as fuck. Outside of a select few scenes, the movie is a slog to get through. It's boring, the story is weak, and the characters are forgettable.
Your incompetence is staggering.
And the few entertaining scenes aren't good for the right reasons. The reason these scenes are kind of entertaining is because they're so stupid and so crazy that it's kind of funny. The basketball scene. The scene where the cop suddenly gets super speed and climbs a 4-story tall building in a few seconds. or basically any scene where Patience speaks. No offense to Halle Berry, but she's not doing very good in this movie at all. And I don't fully blame her. Nobody could sell this awful writing. Maybe if she was given a good script that didn't fucking suck, she'd actually be a pretty good Catwoman. But I guess the world may never know, as this is what we're stuck with.
So did my girl Patience. That's why you killed her.
What? I didn't kill her.
Too bad your last words will be a lie.
Oh, that's disgusting.
So like I said, this borrows literally fuck all from the comics. And now I'll explain exactly what I mean. There's this girl named Patience and she finds out a bad secret about the company she works at. So they fucking kill her. And she's resurrected by cat's breath. And this old woman tells her she's a Catwoman now. Okay. Fuck it, why not? So with that news, she dresses up in a shitty costume and decides to be a menace for no real reason. The action isn't even fun in this movie. If you didn't like the editing in Batman Begins, then this movie will probably give you a heart attack. What is even happening anymore? So yeah, there's really nothing to this plot. Shit is boring, shit isn't funny. There's nothing to really enjoy about it except the basketball scene, of course, which might just be the greatest scene in any superhero movie, bar none. The villain in this movie is played by fucking Sharon Stone, and like I said, her motivation makes no goddamn sense. She wants to be like the prettiest and wealthiest person around, so she makes products that actively cause you to be ugly unless you use them regularly. What the fuck? Nobody would buy that shit. How stupid do you think we are? Oh, wait. Never mind.
So what happens in a workshop? Everyone gets off.
I hate when characters are written like this. You can just tell that they were written by old white dudes who don't understand how women think at all. It's the laziest trope ever and it's honestly sexist as fuck. But at least her death scene is hilarious. Oh my god. The special effects in this movie are terrible. Even for the time, these were terrible. In 2004, we got movies like Spider-Man 2, Dawn of the Dead, and Hellboy. And the year before, we got shit like X2 and Pirates of the Caribbean. So what's this movie's excuse for looking so damn bad? This movie's budget was $100 million. So this leaves me curious. How does someone fuck up a Catwoman movie so bad? Well, apparently our boy Pitoff knows how. Who the hell even is this guy? Well, apparently he's only directed 3 movies ever, one of which is called Fire and Ice, The Dragon Chronicles? When danger strikes from above, it either burns your soul or freezes you to death. Princess Louisa and Knight Gabriel must face a dragon to save their kingdom. Ooh. Exhilarating. And the other movie which description is so fucking long, Letterboxd can't even show the entire thing. So how the fuck did he get into the position of making a Catwoman movie? Why was he hired? Well, I hope you don't actually want me to answer that question because I haven't a fucking clue. I'm sure he's a nice guy, but this movie's just not very good at all. But I understand that it's probably not really his fault. This project was doomed from the beginning. The hacks at Warner Bros. Who paid for this movie didn't actually care if it was good. They didn't care about the source material, they didn't care about the actors or the crew, they just wanted money. But this movie didn't even make back its budget, so they can suck my fat balls. 2 out of 10. I'd like to forget I watched it, please. Well, that was fun, guys. I hope you enjoyed going over those classics, cause I sure did. Anyway, let's talk about one of the greatest superhero movies ever made.
I gotta get me one of those.
Batman Begins is like one of my favorite things of fiction ever created. In my Spider-Man review, I mentioned that this is my favorite superhero movie besides Spider-Man 2. Even though it's been 2 years since I made that video, I still feel that way. Every time I watch this movie, it feels like the first time again. Every piece of dialogue, every scene, dude, I just love it. For some reason, there's been this narrative going around for the last few years that Christopher Nolan's Batman movies really weren't that good, or they were overrated. Which I'm sorry if you feel that way, but no. Nope. I made fun of this guy in my Spider-Man review, but there's this Twitter named like Spider Mike who used to spend all his time basically harassing people who had different opinions than him, which is bad enough, but what really bothered me about him was what he said about this movie. The tweet is gone now, but I vividly remember him saying, Batman Begins is an objectively bad movie, which if you say that, then I don't think you know what objective means. It's basically impossible for a movie to be objectively bad. Chances are there's always going to be at least one person who enjoys it. Hell, I wouldn't even feel comfortable calling Batman and Robin objectively bad because it's not objective. Some people really like that movie and that's fine. Also, from a filmmaking perspective alone, if anything, this movie is objectively good. It's perfectly written and the plot and characters have little to no inconsistencies. The pacing is perfect, the movie never overstays its welcome or understates it. Also, just look at all the practical shit they did and try to tell me this movie's poorly made. I don't know why I'm getting so heated. This dude clearly doesn't know what he's talking about. He called this movie a boring ninja thriller, as if that's a genre.
This person doesn't know what the hell he's doing.
Anyway, now that I've explained why this movie doesn't suck, I guess it's time to review it normally. God, where do I even fucking start, dude? Let's just talk about my boy Christopher Nolan real quick. Nolan isn't my favorite director or anything, but the dude is a master of his craft, and I thoroughly enjoy everything I've seen from him. Regardless of how you feel about all his movies, you can really tell that the dude knows what he's fucking doing. I mean, he basically went into Warner Bros. And was like, guys, we're gonna do Batman exactly like this, and if you don't give me the exact right amount of money I need to make this movie, then I'm just not gonna do it. And they basically got on their knees and begged him to do it. Okay, well, that's not exactly what happened, but you get my drift. He took his knowledge of film and the Batman character to create one of the most accurate adaptations of all time. Batman Begins takes inspiration from stories like Year One and the original Batman movies to create something entirely unique and exciting. He made Batman feel like he could possibly exist in our world, which is pretty fucking crazy if you actually stop to think about it. His Gotham feels so real and yet out of this world beautiful. Look at this shit. It's a gothic, depressing nightmare. The city hasn't looked this good since Batman Returns, and it's not gonna look this good again until we get to the new movie. Batman looks fucking sick in this movie. A lot of people like to make fun of his costume, but I personally love it. I think it's a cool evolution of the 1989 suit. His gadgets are all sick and convincing.
It's time my enemies shared my dread.
And say what you will about the Tumbler, but I think this shit is the coolest thing ever. Any of us would jump at the chance to drive this thing in a heartbeat, don't even lie. The action is very hit or miss in this movie. The chase scenes are great, like the 5-minute long Tumbler chase is my favorite action sequence in the movie. But a lot of the hand-to-hand combat is awkward, to say the least. The camera is constantly shaking and the editing is so frantic that you can't ever tell what's happening. I can see what Nolan was going for here. He wanted to make us feel like we're in the fight ourselves, but I don't know about you guys. I like to see cool fights from a distance, not be in them.
Bitch, I'm just a cameraman.
But when Nolan gets the action right, he gets that shit right. The action takes a backseat to the characters' interactions anyway. The chances are the thing that you remember most from this movie are one of the iconic lines.
It is not a question of money.
You see, I'm buying this hotel and setting some new rules about the pool area.
This narrative is so solid that I'm convinced you don't have to like Batman to enjoy this movie. You don't even have to like superheroes all that much to enjoy it. That just speaks volumes about Nolan's filmmaking abilities. Besides an amazing director, the movie also has an amazing cast. Christian Bale is the best Batman we had gotten in live action at the time, and he's still seen as one of the best, and reasonably so. He brings so much depth to the character, it's kinda corny to say, but he basically becomes Bruce Wayne in these movies. The two personalities he has are both handled extremely well and feel very unique. And this whole movie is about him trying to learn to separate his identities, and it's handled a lot better than in previous movies.
Yield. You haven't beaten me. You have sacrificed sure footing for a killing stroke.
This is the first and only time that we've seen Batman's origin story in its entirety. We come to like Bruce pretty early on in the movie and understand his pain, because you know, we actually get to see his parents before they fucking die. So after almost killing the man who shot his parents, Bruce goes on a long journey of self-discovery. He doesn't start doing vigilante shit until like an hour into the movie. A lot of people like to hate on his Batman voice. They say it sounds like a 70-year-old smoker. Yeah, I'll give you that. In the sequels, he sounds like a drunk, snarling Wolverine, and it's very distracting. But in this movie, I kinda like his voice. It's a good mix of his regular Wayne voice and the much darker, raspy tone that Bale seems to love so much. It's realistic that he would do this. He doesn't have Scream 3 voice-changing technology.
Talking about how much fun it's gonna be to rip your insides out. Now open the fucking door, Christine!
So he's got to use what he has available to him. He also trains to be a master assassin with Liam Neeson. And despite the fact that this is one of the clearest examples of whitewashing in a franchise, I still really love this character. He's one of my favorite villains ever put in a comic book movie. Liam Neeson gives an amazing and memorable performance, and you can understand this guy's motive, even if it is fucking insane. The idea of a villain trying to destroy the beloved hero city is very overused, but it's done so fucking well here. You can actually understand why he wants to wipe Gotham off the face of the earth. We see firsthand that Gotham is a shithole filled with terrible people, but we also see that despite how shitty it is, it still has some good people in it who are worth saving. So even though his motivation is understandable, he's no better than the scum who run Gotham, who's doing what he believes right, but he's hurting a lot more people than he's helping. And he just doesn't care. He's so dedicated to his goal that you almost want him to win. This is also my favorite live-action Batman villain because he has the best relationship with Bruce Wayne out of all of them. Their personal connection goes deep as fuck. This dude is partially responsible for the birth of the Batman, and he's also the first guy to really test Batman as a hero. At this point, we had only gotten a few good Batman villains, and this guy just blows them out the fucking water. He sets a new standard for this franchise going forward. He also has the coolest fucking death scene ever. Haha, take that, asshole. Let's see if that Lazarus pit can help you now, you fucking dickhead. Besides him, we have Tom Wilkinson as Carmine Falcone, and this is probably my favorite adaptation of the character. He's such a scumbag, he's so fucking hateable.
Now you think, because your mommy and your daddy got shot, you know about the ugly side of life, but you don't.
And when he finally gets what he has coming to him, it feels so good.
I'm Batman.
Also, if you're wondering what the coolest live-action I'm Batman was, it's this right here. It's not even a competition. Of course it doesn't come close to Kevin's, but that's to be expected. And last but unfortunately kinda least, we have Cillian Murphy as Scarecrow, the most underutilized villain in a Batman movie, besides Bane. That was just unforgivable. But despite this perfect casting, there really isn't much to this character at all. And that really sucks because Scarecrow is one of my favorite Batman villains and Cillian Murphy is one of my favorite actors. You probably know that if you watched my 28 Days Later video. Go watch it please. And he's set up really well for like the first half of this movie. He's a very important character and he actually poses a very solid threat to Batman. It kinda makes you think that he's the main villain, but no, he's just basically a henchman. And he goes crazy after Batman uses his own shit on him.
What the hell? Oh my god, no way,
And he returns at the end of the movie looking sick as fuck, but he gets beat in the lamest way possible. You're fucking kidding, right? This is probably the only thing about this movie I don't like. He's so wasted, and sure, he does return in little cameos in the sequels, but it never feels like he gets the attention he deserved, and that really kind of bugs me. Also, Cillian Murphy auditioned for Batman, and I think that could have been really interesting. He would have nailed the character of Bruce Wayne for sure. A lot of people see this short-ass clip of him and say, I'm glad he wasn't Batman, that would have been awful. And dude, look at Peaky Blinders and tell me if he can't play a variety of characters. With some time and some good direction, he would have been able to play a pretty solid Batman. Stop hating on him because of a 2-second clip where he's dressed up as Val Kilmer. But I digress, we still got a lot of characters to talk about, so let's keep going. I don't understand the hate for Rachel in this movie. Katie Holmes does a wonderful job with this character and she's actually really interesting because she has a lot of her own shit going on. Her scenes with Bruce are extremely memorable, and the relationship is easy to fall into. You want them to get together, but there's so much pulling them apart. And when Rachel says this at the end of the movie,
Man I loved. The man who vanished. He never came back at all.
my heart fucking broke. I'm sorry, Brucey boy. But yeah, she's an extremely underrated character in this movie, but they kind of ruin her in the second one. As I said a long ass time ago, I think Michael Caine is the best Alfred. He's caring and understanding of Bruce, but he also calls him out when he really has to. He's funny and charming, and he's genuinely one of the best characters in the movie. His words of wisdom always inspire Bruce to keep going, and it's simply beautiful.
Why do we force? So that we can learn to pick ourselves up.
Oh my god, guys. Why am I tearing up just thinking about this scene? Like, obviously I can't see the footage right now while I'm recording, but fuck me. You also have Morgan Freeman as Lucius Fox, and words cannot describe how perfect he is. And last but certainly not least, we have my personal favorite character of the franchise, and that's Gary Oldman as James Gordon. This is by far my favorite version of this character besides the new one. He is the heart and soul of this trilogy. When Bruce loses his parents, he's the only one who tries to comfort him. When the city's literally falling apart, he's the only one brave enough to assist Batman in stopping the villains. Not to mention he's a loving family man with strong morals and even stronger love for his family. He's our true perspective into the world of Gotham. We get to see what it's like being a good-hearted man in a city filled with terrible people, and that's why he's my favorite character. This has been going on for way too long now, so I'll just wrap this shit up by briefly explaining why this is a damn perfect Batman movie. This perfectly captures the world and life of Bruce Wayne. Everything feels real and it's so impactful. The story is a perfect example of how to write a Batman story. All his morals make perfect sense and they're on clear display from the beginning. His pain is gradually shown to us over the movie, and we also see how that pain is used for good. It's got some of the best side characters, arguably the best villain, and a whole load of memorable and beautiful moments. I love this movie, but you already knew that. 10 out of 10, I would rate it higher if I could. The Dark Knight is one of the greatest superhero movies ever made.
Any fireworks. And here we go.
Some people see it as like the Citizen Kane of superhero movies, and whilst I don't personally agree with that sentiment, I can totally understand it. For full disclosure going forward, I actually prefer Batman Begins to this movie, but I still really fucking love this movie, so I'm gonna shill it either way. Where do I even start? God, I got like pages on pages of notes. After the first Kick-Ass movie, Nolan and his team basically immediately got to work on the second one. I imagine making a sequel this big was fucking terrifying. You have to do something again successfully, and you also have to add new shit. I would second guess myself around every corner, I'm sure Nolan did too, because he knew everything had to be perfect for it to even compete with the first movie. So he put his all into this movie. He made better action scenes, took risks with the character, he blew up model toy cars, and even flipped a real semi-truck.
They had a big chunk of TNT inside there to blow that air ram too. The only visual effect involved in that scene was to remove the ram that they had built inside the truck that actually catapulted it. Then, of course, we were shooting in IMAX. We put the IMAX cameras on the street to capture this. We had one camera inside the Ultimate Arm. You know, you're biting your nails when this thing's about to go down. And sure enough, you know, flip that thing up in the air. And Chris and I were really proud, I think, because we had all the cameras in the right places, and we captured some really stunning footage.
Nolan spent 3 years fine-tuning and crafting this movie, all in the hopes of appeasing the fans that he had garnered with his first film. Everyone's expectations were extremely high for this movie, and did Christopher Nolan deliver? Yes. Yes, he quite did.
Come on, I want you to do it. I want you to do it. Come on, hit me. Hit me. Come on, hit me. Ah! Hit me.
This movie was fucking huge. It was the first ever superhero movie to make $1 billion, and honestly, you can see why just from watching it. This is peak filmmaking. This movie is intense, scary, violent, action-packed, sometimes funny, and most importantly filled with heart. This is one of the most complex Batman stories in a movie. Its themes about right and wrong and how easy it is for a good person to snap and become a shell of themselves are delivered so naturally and so brutally. This movie takes a deep dive into the world of Bruce Wayne, with no prior warnings or apologies. This movie has something to say, and you have no choice but to listen.
This city deserves a better class of criminal. I'm gonna give it to him.
Christian Bale is bringing his all to his franchise, and even though this is when his Batman voice started to suck, he still does an amazing job at pulling off Bruce Wayne and Batman. Bruce is dragged through the fucking mud in this movie. He has to watch as his loved ones suffer and die, as his city is terrorized by forces stronger than he's ever dealt with before. This is the first time in the trilogy he really wonders if being Batman was ever worth it to begin with. Sure, he's helped a lot of people and even sparked some much needed change, but he's finally confronted with the negative effect that Batman has. Now his enemies are adapting and becoming even fucking crazier than before, and he's struggling to deal with that. I love Batman stories that show the character at his worst. He's most interesting to me when everything is going wrong for him, but he still finds a way to come out on top in the end. Because that's what Batman does, no matter what. No matter what he's going up against, he'll try to come out victorious. And this movie represents that very well. And we see the sheer determination of Bruce Wayne on full display here. He has every reason to quit. He can't keep fighting till the bitter end. Batman kills Two-Face on purpose in this movie, and it's not brushed off like in the old films. It's seen as a terrible thing. He regrets having to do it and decides to take the blame for Harvey's crimes. It's compelling stuff, and it directly sets up the third movie. These are some of the highest stakes in a Batman movie, and it's entirely due to the characters and how well they're written. This movie used to make little kid me kinda scared, because I kept thinking Batman was gonna die. And that's how intense this movie gets. And most of that intensity is due to Heath Ledger's performance. A performance so iconic that it has been memed and poorly mimicked ever since the movie came out.
Wanna know how I got these scars? Well, I'm the Joker, baby!
All jokes aside, the amazing Heath Ledger gives a groundbreaking performance as the Joker.
Look at you. What do you believe in, huh? What do you believe in?
I believe whatever doesn't kill you simply makes you stranger.
He takes the source material and makes it his bitch. He tears up the scenery and every line of dialogue is memorable and terrifying. And every one of his scenes are iconic in their own unique ways. This performance is so well known and so overly memed that I think it's pretty easy to forget how good it actually is. When he first got casted as the character, some people had their doubts. They were like,
really? Heath Ledger? The guy from 10 Things I Hate About You and Brokeback Mountain? He's really the Joker?
Come on, man.
And I'm sorry, but these people are fucking idiots. They either hadn't seen either of those movies, or they just don't understand good acting. But when the movie actually came out, everyone loved him. It's the same shit that happened to Robert Pattinson. Stop discrediting the actors just because you don't like their other roles. That's so fucking stupid to me. Heath knew what he was doing and people should have never doubted him to begin with. The guy won an Oscar for a reason. And unlike Nicholson's, this dude's motivation actually makes a lot of sense. He wants to prove that any person can become what he is. He knows that deep down all humans are selfish, greedy, narcissistic assholes. We hurt each other, we kill each other, all for our own personal benefit.
Now, I wouldn't have a second's hesitation in blowing your head off right here and right now in front of him. Now, that's power you can't buy.
Joker stands to prove that even the best and bravest among us can fall, and he does that with Harvey Dent, who's also a perfect villain. Harvey is such a great villain because he kinda isn't one. He's genuinely a good man who's using his influence and strength to change Gotham for the better. He's able to do this without donning a cape and mask. He's the White Knight to Bruce's Dark Knight. He's the opposite outcome of Bruce Wayne's life. They're like the same motherfucker, but one's on light mode and one's on dark mode.
You either die a hero, or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
Aaron Eckhart's performance absolutely demolishes Tommy Lee Jones. We actually get to see this Harvey Dent before he becomes Two-Face. We get accustomed to him as a person, we understand his goals and desires completely. Compare that to this.
Curtains 1 and 2, just plain curtains.
It's just not the same. He goes from a likable, charming hero to a cold, heinous murderer, and somehow it feels extremely natural.
It's not about what I want. It's about what's fair!
This dude is legitimately terrifying, and it kinda sucks that he's often forgot about just because Heath Ledger's Joker was that good. But he's still extremely cool and one of my favorite Batman villains in the trilogy, and possibly the whole franchise.
You're a lucky man. He's not. Who? Your driver.
Of course, my boy Gary Oldman is also doing an amazing fucking job in this movie. Gordon has become a lot more cold since the last movie. He's still a lovable and charming guy, but you can tell he's not doing that well in this movie. He's doing his best to take care of his family and also defend the city from insane lunatics. The dude has a lot on his plate, to say the least. At one point the movie tries to convince you that he's dead, and I remember being so fucking sad about this when I was a kid, but don't worry, he's fine. I mean, he's probably permanently traumatized after this movie. Hell, everyone in his family is.
Stood up against corruption instead of doing your deal with the devil.
I was trying to fight the mob!
You wouldn't dare try to justify yourself if you knew what I'd lost.
But hey, he's fine. Let's move on to possibly my most controversial opinion about this movie, but I don't really care for Rachel in this one. Which is odd because I loved her character in the first one, but here she's just Maggie Gyllenhaal does a fine job of what she's given, but other than that, Rachel doesn't really have much to do in this movie.
Harvey. Okay.
Rachel!
Harvey, it's okay. It's alright. Listen.
Her character arguably serves more purpose dead narratively than she does alive, which is a pretty big downgrade for the last movie. But other than that, Morgan Freeman and Michael Caine both return as their respective characters, and they're just as great as the first time. I mentioned this earlier, but the movie has some of the best action in the trilogy. It heavily improves on the first one since, you know, we can actually see what's happening. Also, it introduces some intense ass set pieces. The final confrontation with the Joker is extremely tense and super well shot. The chase scene across Gotham goes insanely hard, and it feels like some Fury Road shit, and the party scene fucks, you get it.
Let her go.
Very poor choice of words.
The action tops its predecessor in every single way. I've been talking about this movie for a very long time now, and if I don't stop, I'm just gonna keep fucking going like I did with Batman Begins, so I'll just say this. The Dark Knight is as good as everyone says it is, and will always be seen as a cinematic masterpiece for as long as time goes on. This movie changed superhero movies forever, and whether that was a good thing or a bad thing is up to you to decide. But I personally love this movie, and it was really great to revisit it for this video. 9 out of 10, this movie is sex. The Dark Knight Rises is the worst of the trilogy, but it's still really fucking great. Is this movie the weakest? Yeah, but is it a bad movie? No. But a lot of people claim this movie was fucking terrible when it first came out, and some people still think it's terrible. And that's entirely due to two simple words: high expectations. After The Dark Knight, people's expectations were through the fucking roof for the third movie. And add on the fact that they had to wait like 5 years for it, which back then seemed crazy for a superhero movie, but now that's just like normal or whatever. And it only took so long because Christopher Nolan was like, hey, I'm making Inception before I do another Batman movie and you can't stop me. And it's not like the studio could just replace him, that would be fucking ridiculous. So they waited. They reluctantly let him make Inception and it was a fucking hit. So they basically let him do whatever he wanted with the third movie. And honestly, I don't think he wanted to make it better than The Dark Knight. It's basically impossible to recreate something like that, so why even try? Instead, he made something unique and it was fucking great.
What's the next step of your master plan?
Crashing this plane.
The Dark Knight Rises is never going to be as good as The Dark Knight, and some fans just can't accept that. It's the same thing that happened to Spider-Man 3. The second movie was so good that everyone expected the third one to be just as great, and when it wasn't, they flipped shit. That's not to say Spider-Man 3 doesn't have problems, because it very much does, and this movie even has some too. But neither of these films are bad, and neither of them killed the franchise like people claimed at the time. Christopher Nolan and the cast worked their asses off to make a solid conclusion to the trilogy. And in my opinion, they succeeded for the most part. This movie has the highest stakes of the trilogy, and my boy Bane finally gets what he deserves in live action. Even though the character is whitewashed as fuck, it's whatever though, I guess. Christopher Nolan once again does an amazing job at bringing these stories to life with his amazing directing. This is arguably the most well-shot movie in the trilogy, and it also has some of the best action too. The only thing that bugs me is the constant aspect ratio changes. It's a small thing, but it's pretty distracting, especially when it happens in the same scene. But regardless, Nolan did a great job with this one, and I just hope he knows that despite all the internet people who got mad about this movie when it came out.
The first two were okay, but this one seriously was the worst superhero movie I have. Oh, you can't even call Batman a superhero because he has no powers. Worst comic hero movie I've ever seen in my entire life. There was absolutely not a single thing good to say about this movie, honestly. I mean, it was so cheesy. The thing is, why would you make a movie with Bane when you've already done the movie with Bane right, when they made Batman and Robin? That was a quality film. And you know, it's just, I don't get it. It's like less good.
What the fuck are you even talking about? Getting back on track, Christian Bale is amazing in this movie, which is to be expected at this point. This is easily his darkest chapter yet, and his personality really reflects that. At the beginning of the movie, he's still in hiding after killing Harvey. His leg is all fucked up from that fall he took, and he even has a cool little beard. Also, it's funny how bad and how quickly Catwoman fucks him up in this scene. God damn, you didn't have to do him like that. That's just cruel. This movie really takes him back to his roots. No longer is he able to work with the police. He once again has to run from them whilst also trying to stop a terrorist group who are gonna blow up Gotham or whatever. He's at a major disadvantage for the entire movie, but he just keeps fighting anyway. It's honestly kind of inspiring how much this Batman can go through without giving up. His back is literally shattered and he still gets back up. It's insane.
Oh, your buddy!
This is a version of Batman who has lost everything and isn't afraid to die at all. In fact, he kind of welcomes it. It's like the only thing that motivates him for this entire movie. He took inspiration from people like Harvey Dent and Jim Gordon in order to become a completely selfless hero. He only cares about the people of Gotham being safe, and all his personal interests are ignored. And after barely managing to save the day, Batman retires for good, and he completely fucking deserves it. Superhero movies can't stop bringing legacy characters back lately. It makes me worried that Christian Bale will return to the character someday, but I really don't want that to happen. I think it would be a disservice to his character to bring him back after concluding his story this way. And it sounds like Christian Bale would agree with me, so hopefully it stays that way. And besides that, we also have Tom Hardy absolutely stealing the show as Bane. He isn't my first choice to play the character, but I won't lie, he does a great job of what he's given. He's extremely intimidating and is easily the most dangerous villain in the entire trilogy, or at least physically anyway. The fights he has with Batman are fucking insane. They're so brutal and intense, you can really tell that it's an uphill battle for both of them. This feels like an evolution of the role Ra's al Ghul played. This is truly an opponent worth taking on the Batman. A lot of people like to make fun of his Bane voice, but I've always thought it sounded really cool. It's like an old battle-hardened martial arts master. Oh wait, that's exactly what it is.
Found a character, a gentleman called, or gentleman, a man called Bartley Gorman, who's a Romany gypsy. And the king of the gypsies in inverted commas, and a bare-knuckle fighter, and a boxer. And he said, when I get into a ring with a man, and all he wants to wipe me off the face of the earth, and all he wants to kill me. And I was like, oh, this is great. And then I showed Chris, I said, Chris, we can either go down a sort of arch Darth Vader kind of route, and, straight, just neutral tone villain voice. Or we could try this, and this I've been thinking of just in case we've got to consider the roots and origins of the Bane, but we could get laughed out of the park with it. It might be something that we regret, but it's your choice ultimately. And he goes, no, I think we'll go with it. And that was that. And
wow.
We played with it and made it a bit more florid, and now people laugh at it.
And after an entire movie of build-up, Bane and Batman have their final battle, and it's actually pretty sick. It happens in the middle of this mob that's going apeshit, and it continues into this building. And Batman almost kills Bane with his bare fucking hands. It's so crazy. And then they ruin it all by killing Bane off like this.
You all just have to imagine the fire.
That's it. He's gone. He's not in the movie anymore. I shouldn't have to explain why. That's fucking stupid. So yeah, this is a really great villain, and Tom Hardy fucking kills it. I mean, he always kills it. And aside from him, we got Talia al Ghul as our second villain. And she's fucking terrible in this movie. No offense to the actress, I'm sure she's great. But god, this character is extremely forgettable. I didn't even remember she was in the movie until I watched it again. They try to do like a love triangle of sorts between Batman, Catwoman, and her, but it basically goes nowhere, and her and Bruce have no chemistry together at all. Her reveal wasn't even good. She just stabs Batman and he does this stupid fucking face. And she's like, haha, but little did you know I was the daughter of Ra's al Ghul this whole time. And it's like, no shit. This is the easiest twist ever to predict, dog. Quit acting like you're some kind of mastermind. And she just dies, and it's one of the most hilarious and boring deaths in the entire franchise.
It's done.
Oh my god, you're fucking kidding me, right? And Joseph Levitt is in this movie as John Blake. And his only role in this movie is so the audience can go, oh, that's Robin! That's fucking Robin, guys, holy shit, it's Robin! They try to give him stuff to do in this movie, but it feels like he's just there to be there. And the last problem I have with this movie is Anne Hathaway as Catwoman. Her and Bruce have little to no chemistry at all, and she honestly just feels like she's there to give Bruce a love interest. This character's just boring and the costume looks really dumb. But to be fair, it did take until like 2022 to actually get this costume to look good in a movie. But other than that, I think this movie's really good. It's definitely the weakest of the trilogy and certainly isn't my favorite, but it's not bad at all and I'm tired of people saying it is. 7 out of 10, it's a good movie, you guys are just mean. Alright guys, so that might have taken a while, but we're finally done with the Nolan trilogy. That was a lot of fun. I enjoyed watching good movies after the fucking Schumacher run ended. Anyway, next is Batman vs Superman. This movie is fucking fine. It's actually not that bad. I was pretty hesitant to include this movie at all as I didn't really know if it counted as a Batman movie, but everyone seems to include it in their rankings, so I guess I gotta do that too. And I don't think I'll cover the entire movie as that would take way too fucking long, and we've already been here long enough. So instead I'll just talk about Batman's character arc in this movie, and I'll save Superman for another time, because I think I might cover all his movies at some point too, once I regain my energy from this video. So as I already said, I don't hate this movie. I actually kind of like it sometimes. The action is sick, the cinematography is beautiful, and the soundtrack fucks. This movie also contains the best Batman fight scene put to film. This shit feels straight out of Arkham, it's amazing to watch. I just wish, you know, he didn't fucking kill people. We'll talk about that later. Now it's time to discuss Ben Affleck as Batman. And I have quite mixed feelings on him. For one, I think Ben Affleck handles Bruce Wayne very well. He's an older version of the character, and he's putting on this charming act in order to get people to like him.
Together, how are we?
Lex.
Hello. Good. Hi, hello. Lex, it is a pleasure. Ow! Wow, that is a good grip. You should not pick a fight with this person.
It's just him as Batman I don't fully enjoy. I never really cared for his costume or the many variations of it. His head always looked gigantic, but he's really cool in action and he's always super quick and super brutal. And that's kind of part of the problem, see. I like Batman, I enjoy when Bruce is a pretty violent and angry guy. But there is a limit. Batman can be too violent. He shouldn't be fucking killing people, and that's what I'm saying. This debate's been had a million times. You've probably heard a million arguments over the years, so I won't linger too long on this topic again. Batman killing people goes against the clear goals of the character in the comic. If he kills, he's no better than someone like the Punisher or Deadpool. Or hell, here's a good example, fucking Slade. If he kills people, he's no better than the criminals he fights, and he's no better than the man who killed his parents. I hate seeing Batman kill people in the old movies, and this one takes it to a whole nother level. I'm stretching this bit out to show you just how much murder happens. Murder, murder, murder. Give me some murder. I don't like Batman killing, okay? I'm sorry. Moving on. I think Bruce's reason to want to kill Superman actually makes sense. Now I know that sounds weird after I just went on that prior rant, but listen. Imagine if Batman killed nobody in this movie. Imagine if he still cared heavily about his moral code. So after witnessing the destruction Superman and Zod caused and the lives he took in their battle, he starts to question his code. He starts to convince himself that it would be okay to kill Superman, as he's not actually human. He's from a different fucking planet. So over the course of the movie he contemplates this idea until he's like, fuck it, and decides to fight him anyway. A lot of people like to shit on the Martha scene, but I think it kind of works if Batman hadn't killed anyone up to this point. He's convinced himself he's in the right, and then
You're letting him kill Martha.
that shit would hit so much harder. And if you still think it's dumb, maybe have Superman say some shit like, you're right, I'm not a god, I'm not even a man. And then Batman just flips shit or something, yada yada yada, you fucking get it. It's just confusing in the base movie. Batman's mad at Superman because he kills people, and Superman's mad at Batman because he kills people. And he also brands pedophiles or whatever. So they fight, and even though the fight is kinda cool, I can't be one of those biased fans who's like, Batman could be anybody, cause no, he fucking can't. If these two actually fought for realsies, like this movie was trying to make it seem, then Batman would be a smear on the wall in an instant. I like the ending of this movie, it's actually really cool and I can't complain much there. Batman, Wonder Woman, and Superman all team up to fight Doomsday and it's actually really sick. I remember seeing this scene, and even though I was just a dumb 12-year-old kid, I was still like, yeah, Superman's not dead, there's no fucking way. And I was right, because obviously. What else is there to say about this movie really? It's pretty forgettable. I like Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor, that might be a hot take. Anyway, this movie's kind of whatever, 5 out of 10. It's just so forgettable.
Get yourself ready for some reading. If you want to make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and make a change. Who? No, I said that. Batman is very wise.
This movie was a lot of fucking fun to revisit, especially after watching Batman vs Superman. This movie's legitimately funny as hell, and it's a great Batman adaptation. I loved this movie when I first saw it, and I think I liked it even more this time around. I might even like it more than the first Lego movie, to be honest.
There you are.
Oh, Alfred, I am so sorry. I have incredible reflexes.
Lego Batman shows that Batman movies can still be campy and fun without also being god-awful. This is so far the only good Batman and Robin movie. It handles a relationship very well, and Robin's not some annoying little asshole or some boring fucking cop. He's actually super chill and super funny. This movie made me not hate Robin in a movie for once, which I'm actually happy about.
I've seen you go through similar phases in 2016 and 2012 and 2008 and 2005 and 1997 and 1995 and 1992 and 1989 and that weird one in 1966.
Batman's also handled super well. This is actually a great adaptation of him. Not only is he funny, but he's actually pretty accurate as a character in the comics. It shows that he sucks at balancing his two personalities, but in a funny way. He's so in his own bubble and egotistical. The other superheroes kind of fucking hate him, but Robin teaches him to be less of an asshole and more of an actual dude. He also learns this from the Joker. Ah yes, the titular Joker, the villain in every Batman movie. Side note, Batman's rogues gallery is fucking huge. He has some of the best villains in the comic books. So why the fuck is the main villain always the Joker? I'm fucking sick of him. It's always the same shit. Anyway, despite how I feel about him, the Joker's actually pretty fun in this movie. It tackles the relationship well, and it even kind of mocks the common idea people have nowadays that these two characters can't exist without one another, even though that's not fucking true. And this movie is full of color. Finally, for the first time in years, does a Batman movie have fucking colors in it. I was starting to miss the Schumacher films. Oh, never mind. My fucking eyes hurt. Other than that, I really don't have much to say about this one, because it's just something you have to watch for yourself. It's funny. 7 out of 10. The next movie on our list is another spin-off movie about a Batman villain, but this time it's the Joker. Now, when this movie was first announced, I was kind of confused. I didn't really understand the point to making a movie about the Joker. I still kind of don't. And I also didn't really like this movie when I first saw it. Back when this movie came out, I was 15 and just started my first ever minimum wage job at McDonald's. And after my first 8-hour shift, I went to see this movie and was like, damn, we really do live in a society. But yeah, I didn't really care for it that much when I saw it in the theater, which was weird for me because everyone else seemed to love it. What was I missing? I didn't know, dude. And after watching it that first time, I didn't watch it again for fucking years. I only watched it because I had to make this video, and honestly, it's better than I remember, but I still don't love it. Let's just start with the great thing straight out the gate. Joaquin Phoenix's performance as the Joker is iconic at this point. I think he's doing a great performance in this movie, even though I wouldn't really call this the Joker. It's more just like a creepy, crazy, insane guy who wears clown makeup. This doesn't really feel like the Joker to me. It just kind of feels like they slapped the Joker name onto a crazy guy label and called it good. And that's not to say he's not doing an amazing job, because he is. It's just that I can't see this Joker fighting Batman or anything like that. Which maybe was the point. Actually, that probably was the point. This movie was directed by Todd Phillips, and I'm pretty sure he just wanted an excuse to make a movie like this and didn't actually care about the Joker. That is to say that this movie isn't crazy original either in that sense. Like, it's basically just Taxi Driver, but not as entertaining in my opinion. But compared to the overwhelming repetitiveness of all the superhero movies that have been coming out lately, especially when this one came out, this is just like a breath of fresh air, dude. A lot of people hadn't ever seen a movie like this before, and since it was a DC film, they went to watch it and they saw a completely new experience. But this movie does a lot of things right. The cinematography is astonishing. This is one of the best looking films under the Batman label. Gotham looks really great. They use a variety of different cities to create an aesthetic more related to the comics, and while I don't think it looks as good as the new movie, it's still really enjoyable and very realistic. We've seen glimpses of like a ground level perspective in these movies before with like characters like Gordon, but we've never seen it so in our face like this, if you know what I mean. We never really seen the perspective of someone who has to live day by day in a city like this, and it's just about as horrible as we could have pictured. This is a character study about what an environment in a society like this could do to somebody, and I think it's done really well. But the part about the plot I really don't like is how he's like obsessed with Bruce Wayne's parents because he believes that they're also his parents. Now, it's never confirmed nor denied if this is actually the case in the movie. I'm willing to believe it's not. But if it is, can you imagine how fucking stupid that would be? People complained about when he killed Bruce's parents, but like this is an even worse way to try to give him a connection. But yeah, I still really enjoyed this movie. It's definitely grown on me a lot since it came out. But I don't think it's like a 10 out of 10 masterpiece movie like so many people think it is. Please don't lynch me in the comments below, but I'm gonna have to give this movie a strong 6 out of 10. It's good. Okay guys, so what's next anyway? Oh my god, yes! So guys, we've done it. We've actually done it. We made it to the last Batman movie. And I'm so glad I get to end this video on a good note because Matt Reeves' The Batman is one of the greatest superhero movies I've ever had the fortune of seeing. It's so damn good that I'm actually gonna have to make an entire video essay about it with a very special guest in a few weeks. But in the meantime, I can still review this movie for you guys. For starters, this movie came out 10 years after The Dark Knight Rises, and whilst that probably wasn't fully intentional, I think it's really smart. It gave the audiences enough time to enjoy the Dark Knight trilogy to its fullest, whilst also getting people excited to see Batman again. But the movie's finally here and we finally get to see Matt Reeves' adaptation of Batman. And for me and like 95% of other people, he fully delivered. This is by far the best live action adaptation of the character. This was basically everything I could have asked for in a Batman movie. It isn't focused on being too campy, and it isn't focused on being extremely realistic either. It's the perfect middle ground. It feels directly ripped from the comics even though this movie was its own thing entirely. Matt Reeves pulls inspiration from countless different stories and adaptations to create his own unique vision of the character. As someone who used to read just like solely Batman comics, I can kinda tell when someone knows their shit, and Matt Reeves definitely knows his shit. This is the kind of movie that DC should have been making the entire time. One that feels like it might be connected to a bigger universe but still focuses mainly on this character and their world. It doesn't try to shove a bunch of other DC superheroes in. Because this is a Batman movie, it should be about Batman, not fucking Iron Man. I don't want to rag too hard on the MCU Spider-Man movies because like I've said countless times, I really enjoyed these movies, especially the first and third movie. But I never really liked how often it felt like they had to remind us that it takes place in the MCU. Hey look, it's Iron Man. Hey look, it's Doctor Strange. Hey look, it's you fucking get it. I don't come here for other characters, I come here to see Spider-Man. And I didn't come to Batman to see like the Flash or some shit. So I'm really happy about how separate this feels from everything else in the DCEU, or the DCU, or whatever the fuck it is now. Point is, you don't have to go into this movie with a bunch of prior context, you can just enjoy it for what it is, and that's such a refreshing feeling. In fact, everything about this movie feels refreshing. We finally get a superhero movie that doesn't have boring gray backgrounds. This movie's bursting with life. Gotham City looks better than it ever has before. The city is made up of dark alleys and shadows, you really feel like Batman could be hiding anywhere. This is the first Batman movie where the character actually feels kinda scary at times. The beginning of the movie feels like a horror film. People are running as soon as they see the bat symbol. It's looming on every street and it's giving the criminals intense fear. And when Batman finally reveals himself, it's fucking incredible. This is also the first Batman movie that actually really focused on the detective side of the character. Yeah, we've seen a Batman investigating shit in the past, but it was never the main focus of the movie. The Dark Knight was a crime thriller featuring Batman. The Dark Knight Rises was a war epic featuring Batman. And The Batman is a murder mystery featuring the Batman. Murder mysteries are my shit, and this one is extremely good. They keep making you guess what the Riddler's planning and what he's gonna do next. Yeah, it's not exactly a secret what his identity is. Anyone who's ever picked up a Batman comic before knows that he's the villain. What keeps you engaged is wondering what his motivation is. Why does he keep murdering people, and why is he so damn obsessed with Bruce's parents? He's also played masterfully by Paul Dano. This is the perfect Riddler in my opinion. He makes Jim Carrey's Riddler look like a joke. No, maybe Jim just kinda did that to himself.
It's so you, and yet so
I love how he's basically revealed as some tinfoil hat conspiracist with a fucking Twitch account, but he's still one of the best Batman villains in the movies, for what he represents and the damage he causes to both Bruce and the entire city of Gotham. Dude's a menace and he's easily my favorite part of the movie. Aside from him, we have Jeffrey Wright as James Gordon. and he's absolutely amazing in this role. He has potential to be my favorite adaptation of the character in the future. We have Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman, which is easily the best version of the character, and Andy Serkis is good as Alfred, but I wish we had more scenes with him. Colin Farrell isn't my favorite Penguin, but he's a blast to watch. He brings the slimy gangster side of the character to life. This feels like the Arkham Penguin. I can't wait for the Penguin show, that should be really interesting. But most importantly, we have Robert Pattinson as Batman, and I adore this casting. This is my favorite Bruce Wayne by far. A lot of people doubted him because of shit like Twilight, but I don't know. Those people must not have seen Good Time or The Lighthouse, because as soon as his involvement was announced, I was fucking excited. He kills it as both Batman and Bruce Wayne. He goes on this amazing journey of self-discovery where he realizes, hey, maybe my parents weren't that great of people after all, and he has to learn to take the good aspects of their legacy and create his own. At the beginning of the film, he's vengeance, but in the end he realizes he needs to move on to make a difference for the city of Gotham. When he finally moves on and realizes what he needs to be, he saves all these people in a wonderfully shot moment. That's my Batman right there. They tease that the Joker exists in this universe, and there's even a deleted scene where Batman talks to him, and I really hope he's not the villain of the next movie. I would much rather see Mr. Freeze in the sequel. I know I already mentioned him in the video, but High Top Films is a really great pitch for Batman too, and y'all should go check that out. In conclusion, I'm really fucking happy with what we got, and I'm extremely excited to see what Matt Reeves does in the future. I wasn't too familiar with his work going in, but I can say this movie definitely made a fan out of me. 10 out of 10. I can't wait to see what's next. And that's it, guys. We've officially done it. We've reviewed every Batman movie. Hopefully this video didn't drag on for too long. Oh. Anyway, now it's time to rank them. I'll try to keep it somewhat short, I promise. This is Batman and Robin, obviously. This movie just shits all over everything that's great about the character of Batman. It's a sloppy, confusing, and unfunny product of a movie. I can't even talk about this movie without getting upset. Next up is Catwoman. This movie is unfathomably bad. I don't want to talk about it any longer than that, actually. Is Batman Forever. This movie's just awful, but it's not as awful as Batman and Robin. This movie's old, corny, and dumb. It's a lot of fun, though. This Batman vs. Superman. I might have problems with this movie, but I still respect Zack's vision. And then we have the Joker. Please don't be mad at me, like I said, I just don't love this movie. It's still pretty good. I'm excited for that sequel though, that shit sounds crazy. Lego Batman, and this is when we start getting into the good movies. This movie's fucking hilarious and more people need to see it, it's insane. The Dark Knight Rises, and before you get too mad at me, remember I just spent a long time defending it. It's not a bad movie at all, and it's only in 7th place because it's just not my favorite is all. And that's okay. Tim Burton's Batman movie. I love this movie. And I've already talked about it twice now, so instead let me just read you this insane comment my first video on it got. I'd say this is absolutely a great Batman movie without any rancor. I'd argue it has significantly more depth and better acting than the Nolan films, and no one I've heard seriously lumps them in with the Schumacher films. I guess you've never been on Twitter before. Mask of the Phantasm. This is just an all-around great movie. It's an amazing Batman story, but it also takes such a deep dive into Bruce himself. And I really can't stress enough how amazing Kevin Conroy is as Batman. He was the best voice we've ever gotten, and he's the best voice that we're ever gonna get. I miss him more and more every day. Rest in peace, Kevin Conroy. The Dark Knight. This movie's sick, you already knew that. People might get mad that this isn't ranked higher, but calm down, I still think it's a masterpiece. It's just not my favorite, is all. Some people are gonna get mad at me for this, but Batman Returns is my pick for number 3. I'm sorry y'all, this movie's just so fucking cool and interesting to me. I couldn't help but rank it above The Dark Knight. Please find it in your heart to forgive me. Number 2 is The Batman. This is easily one of the best superhero movies I've ever seen. This and No Way Home both gave human effigy to my dying love for superhero movies. God damn, I never thought I'd be excited about a Penguin TV show before, but damn it, I'm in. My number 1 favorite Batman movie is Batman Begins, but you probably saw that one coming. This movie represents everything I love about this character, and I could easily talk about it for hours. I could definitely make a video where I break down the movie scene by scene like I did with 28 Days Later, and hell, I might just do that at some point. Anyway, this movie's a masterpiece, and it's easily my favorite Batman movie.
You still haven't given up on me. Never.
And now, a word of love for the Batman.
Thursday, March 23rd, Brandon asked me through the web of Twitter for a request, a cameo in his latest Batman video. How could I say no? I was asked to answer one simple question, one simple riddle. Who is your favorite Batman? And why? And though I could say Bale, Affleck, Keaton, Kilmer, West, Mazouz, Arnett, or the late, great Conroy, I honestly think my favorite is Robert Pattinson. As much as I love them all, and I mean I love them all. Pattinson went from sparkly vampire to the night-stalking, vengeance-seeking bat in 14 years. And man, what a glow-up. As I mentioned once before, Batman to me is best when he is human. Not some edgelord who wants revenge, not some father who makes Robin feel like he's enlisting in the army. No, a man who is so hurt by loss, filled with guilt, regret, trauma, that he makes it his life goal to make sure that that never happens to any other kid like it happened to him. Pattinson portrays that broken soul. He sits in his cave listening to Nirvana, not listening to Alfred. He doesn't care about Bruce Wayne. The only thing Bruce cares about is Batman. At first, because we all know it doesn't last, isolation can only fix so much. Vengeance can only fix so much. Gotham Year 2, the Gotham Project, wasn't to protect or wasn't to avenge. It wasn't to help the people of Gotham at first. Over time, Bruce realizes that the people find solace in him, find hope in him. I mean, after all, it's better to be hopeful than to be stuck in your cave alone and isolated with no one to help the one who helps everyone else.
My favourite Batman that we've got on screen right now is absolutely Pattinson's. I love the detective angle the film has, and it's a film that doesn't try to reinvent Batman as much as reinvent how Gotham is done in film, and it works phenomenally. Absolutely love it. Although, I will just throw out an honourable mention to Val Kilmer's Batman in Batman Forever, because from the original script to the deleted scenes in that film, I think if we've got to see the original cut of that film, he would be my favourite.
Hi, I'm Trenton from Trenton's Collections. My favorite Batman is a personal hero of mine, the late Kevin Conroy. Going beyond the screen, he was the embodiment of who Bruce was as a person. Kind, caring, and most important of all, brave. He, like Batman, concealed himself, his true self, from the world, fearful of the rejection he would face from his career, his friends, his family. Being gay was a stigma, one that made him feel like he needed to be someone else. When he was offered the role of Batman, he related heavily to a man who hid himself behind a mask while portraying to the world something he was not, and he played him perfectly, giving the iconic character a performance of a lifetime that spanned 30 years until his death, defining several people's childhood. His Batman stood for truth, justice, the everyday struggles people can face, and the fantastical elements of the world of Gotham. Bruce Wayne faced many challenges, many hardships, many triumphs, many losses, and Kevin understood exactly how to play it all, having lived through the AIDS crisis of the 80s, burying friends, bearing the pain, or living through the highs of getting to meet thousands of adoring fans, the career of a lifetime, a legacy that will live on, and a true love with his husband who survives him. Kevin Conroy inspired me as a kid as Batman, as a teenager who struggled with his identity as himself, and now as a man who's just as sure of himself as Batman is. He will always be my hero, my Dark Knight.
My favorite Batman ever is Batman the Animated Series. Kevin Conroy, fucking amazing voice actor. It does fantastic as Batman. And his struggles in that show were showing just how dark Batman can be, but still showing the light of a traumatic event and someone who's gone through struggles that some can't even imagine, and using that to help other people and to save lives and to fight villains. It's just so freaking good. I love Batman the Animated Series, and I recommend it for anybody. It's a great watch.
I really like the Arkham
Batman, honestly. He's very violent, very bold. It's his brutality in a way that I think it's a very good depiction of Batman. A Batman that is, very violent, very thorough, very precise, but he's not, he's not a murderer. He doesn't cross that line, and that's why I like the Arkham series. Also great detective Batman. Uses a lot of really cool tech. Really just a great Batman for me. Really fun games to play. And I really, really enjoyed Batman the Brave and the Bold, because Batman the Brave and the Bold is it's a very good series. Like, some of the crossovers are just fantastic. Blue Beetle, that also kind of ties into my love with Green Lantern that I had when I was younger. I really like Brave and the Bold. Really great depiction of Batman. Overall, just a fantastic series. There's obviously a lot of great Batmans, but those are just some of the ones that I like. I kind of grew up on. Those were my Batmans. Besides, this shit can just be edited, but what's his name? Michael Keaton.
Michael Keaton.
I always forget Michael Keaton. And then just like one last mention, Michael Keaton. Great Batman. I may have watched those movies so long ago that my memory on them is dusty. I have fond memories of a fair amount of Michael Keaton in the movies. Not like every part of those movies were great, but Michael Keaton, loved Michael Keaton's Batman.
You are not my father. I am not a disgrace. I am vengeance. I am the night. I am Batman.
And that's it, guys. We're done talking about these damn movies, or at least for a while anyway. It's a really great time to be a Batman fan. The next Matt Reeves movie is probably gonna bang, and James Gunn recently announced a Brave and the Bold movie, which will also probably fucking bang. Michael Keaton and Batfleck are back in the same movie, which is cool, even though they probably won't interact. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I had a lot of fun looking back in all these movies. I know I may have done a lot of bitching in this video, but it was mostly for the sake of fun. I enjoy my time even if I don't care for all of these sad adaptations. But Batman's one of my favorite superheroes and he always will be. I'm sorry this video was so long. I have no clue how to end it. If you made it this far, you're like the coolest motherfucker ever. Leave a comment saying Ben Affleck backflip to let me know.